I spent over $200 on semi-hydro gear, and I want to show you exactly what I got and whether any of it is actually worth it. I've featured the Leafy Brand products on this channel before. I did an unboxing a few years back and their pots showed up again in my semi-hydro pots comparison video. So this is not me discovering a new brand. I know these products, I use them, and I have opinions. I'm also an affiliate for the Leafy brand, and that link will be in the description. But I want to be clear about something. These products were not gifted. I bought everything in this video myself, and honestly, that's exactly why I became an affiliate in the first place. I was already spending my money on all their goods. We have 3 product types to get through today. We're starting with the thing I use in literally every single one of my setups. Then we're moving on to something that I genuinely wasn't so sure about before, and I'll tell you exactly where I landed on it. And then we're finishing with the one that I know a lot of you have been trying to track down and are curious about. One more thing before we get into it. The Leafy brand only ships within Australia, and I know most of you are not here. So for every product I show you today, I'm going to tell you what it does, why it matters in semi-hydro setups, and what you can use if you can't get this brand. You're not going to walk away with nothing just because you're overseas. So this is not really so much as an unboxing as it is a taking out of the items out of the bags. So I've got 2 bags today, and we will start with this one. I love that. It's got the Leafy branding on that. And first up is pots. You know I love me some pots, and that's all we've got in that. We've got, this is the ultimate Leafy pot set. I think this is the type 2. There's a type 1 and a type 2. And I think I've got the type 1, so I might be able to show you the difference between the type 1 and the type 2. But I've got some pots here. And this is Pon. It is Leafy Pon-002 mineral stone mix. I don't know why it's called 002. It's very, but that's what we've got. And I've got some trellises. And Andy threw in some things for me. This is clear clips, and I'll show you this little baby in a little bit. So let's get started with the pots. So I've got the 10 centimeters, the 14 centimeter, and the 20 centimeter. So this is the ultimate clear pot set. I love this pot because it is a set. You've got the inner nursery pot, clear, outer cache pot, that's opaque, so algae is a thing of the past in your reservoir and around your plant. And it comes in 3 colors, so you can have an avocado, a white one, and a black one, depending on the aesthetic that you love. So it's really great for that. There's also actually another pot that comes in between these 2, a 16 centimeter. I didn't really want that one, so I only got the 3 of them, and they just work so beautifully. The thing I love about these pots is that it's the feel of quality. It's not that very, very soft plastic that you get with some of the other pots, especially the ones that you get on Amazon or eBay, which I have used before. So if you're looking for a premium product, this is a great one. Same thing with the inner nursery pot. That plastic is really, really thick. And I have said that I have used these pots. I've been using them for a while now, so I can tell you, and I can even show you how they sort of, get on after time. Because you know how when you're using plastic for a while, sometimes it starts to yellow or it starts to chip, and it is definitely not something that I have found happening in this particular situation. Look at that. That pot is looking really good. And in fact, the only reason it's discolored like this is because of the Leca labels and the reservoir. But the top looks beautiful and it's lovely and colored. And you can actually use this as a wick setup or a submerged setup if you want. So for this particular plant, I did have the wick in there to start with, and now I've got the roots growing into that reservoir. So it kind of like started off as a wick and then turned into a submerged setup, which works just fine for me. And you can see this is my money tree plant, and it's quite tall. And because this pot is very, very stable, it's able to take plants that are pretty tall without actually it falling over. So it works really well in that respect. I've got another one here in the, is that the 14? I want to say 14. Yes, that's in the 14 centimeter pot. And you can see, oh, look at that. That is my Hoya. That is a Hoya Lisa, and look at that root system going there. It's just absolutely fantastic. And what this is showing as well is you've actually got little slits, little holes in the sides there. So, you know, before, when I first got these pots, I was not convinced that that ventilation was enough, and I actually did start to make ventilation holes in that. But as time went on and I realized that, yeah, now it's really not necessary to do that. Not that one. The one I just showed you. This one didn't have the ventilation holes. You can see that the plant still grows very well without the ventilation holes. So it's got little ventilation holes. You don't need to make your own. And the fact that the nursery pot is clear just allows for that visibility so nicely there. It looks so good. You can see what's happening with the roots. And that's something that's really important in semi-hydro, because if there's something happening, you can actually deal with it sooner rather than later, because you can actually see what's going on. Now, I'm trying to see if I can show you the difference between the type 1 and the type 2. So this is the type 1 and this is the type 2. You can see that the type 1, I hope you can see, I hope it translates, that the type 1 is actually a lot whiter, and this type 2 is a little bit more cream and does seem to be, you know what, I actually suspect this is a 16 centimeter because it's a little bit shorter. It looks about 2 centimeters shorter. So I suspect this is the 16 and this is the 14. But from where I'm standing, this is a lot more creamier than this. So if you're looking for something that's a lot more white, pure white, I would definitely be going for the type 1 instead of the type 2. And I thought, yeah, there is actually a little bit of a difference in terms of the pattern and how it looks at the top there with those ridges in the pot. Not sure if you can see it. The type 1 is a little bit more round at the top, whereas the type 2 is a little bit more square. I don't know what I mean, to be honest, I personally think I prefer the type 1. I like things to be a lot more whiter than the cream color. So that's just a, you know, a preference. I'll show you the 20 centimeter one. Look at that baby. She is a big one. Big, big, big. And I know we always talk about big pots, big clear pots in semi-hydro and how difficult they are to find. You can find the clear pots, especially if you're in Australia. You can go to Bunnings, they do have a 20 centimeter version. Problem is to find a cash pot for it. So this one comes with the cash pot and Bob's your uncle. You don't have to worry about that. So again, it comes in the cream. I'm not sure if there's a 20 centimeter in the type 1. Not sure. I'm pretty sure there might be. I don't know. I'll let you know on screen when I find out as I'm editing this. But this is the 20, but I wanted to show you the black version. So I do have a black version and, oh, hang on. Oh no, yes, this black version is actually the type 1. And I can tell that it's the type 1 because of the pattern, the shapes at the top. So yeah, that's very useful. It's good I clocked on that. And this one houses my Burle Marx flame. I finally got a Burle Marx flame and look, it's starting to do the thing. I'm so excited. So this one I actually put, this is a Leafy Brand moss pole. I'm not too sure what version this is, whether it's the 3.0 or what. Oh, there's something really interesting going on in this moss pole. I have a little maidenhair fern growing out of my moss pole. That is so funny. Not sure how that happened, but this one is, yeah, in the black one with the black moss pole. I like it. I love that contrast. I think it's going to look very, very nice. And you can see here, you can see how I've got that wick dangling at the bottom there. That's a microfiber wick. And you can check out those roots that are now growing into the reservoir. And of course, you can see I don't have any holes in this nursery pot. So I absolutely love these pots and I don't use these pots all the time. This is not the workhorse of my collection. The workhorse of my collection is this, you know, simple, you know, little pot, little net pot. And oh, look at that. Look at that. How beautiful does that look? But look at those roots. Oh my gosh, this spider plant is insane. This was just a little pup that I got. I threw it in the Leca clay balls, chucked it in that, and that is growing. I find it really hard to understand when people say they have trouble growing spider plants. For me, they just grow like weeds. But yeah, this is the bulk of my collection, just a nursery liner covered in tape, and that's the majority of my plants live in that. But when I want to do something really special, when I want a plant to look nice, and I know this is going to be, it's kind of almost semi-forever pot, I put it in something like that, and that is beautiful. It really, really is. I mean, the other version is so much cheaper, obviously, but sometimes you just want to have something look nice. Or for those of you who collect plants for the sake of making your house look pretty, then you can have something like this. I love them. I absolutely love them. So for those of you who can't get Leafy Brand pots because you're not in Australia, I mean, the theory is really much the same. So you're looking for something that's a good quality pot. You can feel the plastic is firm, it's not bending over, it's not likely to crack, and you're looking for something that has an accompanying cash pot. I will say this one thing because it's glaringly obvious, and if I didn't say it, no one would trust me for sure. The one thing that I absolutely do not like about these pots is the fact that they do not have a water level indicator. And you know how much I love a water level indicator, and if it's not there, it's quite problematic. It's not a deal breaker, obviously, because you can see I've got lots of plants that are actually living in this setup and have been living in this setup for some time. So I use these pots constantly. I've been using them for a while now. So I don't think it's a deal breaker, but would it be nice to have a water level indicator? Yes, it would. And I think one of the problems about having a water level indicator with this pot is because the inner pot sits suspended on top of the cash pot, right? So it sits a little bit like that. It's a little bit high off. It's not at the base of the cash pot. So you've got that little space there. So even if you put a water level indicator in that pot, it's not going all the way to the bottom. So you could still potentially have, nutrient solution in that reservoir. But, maybe that's all you need. You just want to be told that the water level is at that point and you put it up higher. I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't even have a PP hole, so you can't see. Again, not necessarily a deal breaker, but something really important for you to know. And if it is a deal breaker for you, then I certainly highly recommend that you go for a pot that does have a water level indicator, like a Lechuza planter or something similar to that. Okay, let us talk trellises. I have 3 types of trellises here today. Yes, I do have 3. So the first one is this tiny little one. And I think this is what is called the Leafy acrylic grid trellis. You can see it is a grid, obviously. So it says, please note upon delivery, there's a protective film covering the acrylic surface. So you have to peel that acrylic film off in order for you to use this properly. So you can see it in all its glory. That is that one. And that sits perfectly in a tiny pot like that. So when you've got a little plant, something like a Hoya, for example, that would sit really well. I'm trying to see if there's someone here that would benefit from something like this. Maybe. So this is a Syngonium, and I know it's going to start climbing up in a little bit. So I might put that in a plant like that. And it's fantastic because it looks amazing. It doesn't look so amazing right now because I've still got the acrylic thingy on it. And when you've got the acrylic thing, it looks pretty cloudy. So I really hate starting to peel this stuff because I can never get it right. Oh, so I got one. So you basically just peel it, right? Spend some time peeling, and it then looks lovely and clear. So you do the same thing on the other side as well. So that is this one. I'll have the dimensions on screen. And so there's a small one and there's a large one. I only got one large one. Why did I only get one large one? I don't know why I only got one large one, but that is the large one. So, large one would work really well for, the bigger pot. So that's the 14 centimeters, sits beautifully in that. And when you peel that, it looks really, really nice. And that's a comparison between the large one and the small one. And they feel really nice. They look really good. They're acrylic, so they're clear. And so that allows the plant to just shine through. And of course, using a trellis means you're not using a moss pole. And there's so many reasons to not use a moss pole. And the take-home message is using a trellis really does still, the plant will still climb, the leaves will still grow. So you're eliminating the whole, keeping the moss pole moist and all that malarkey, keeping it stable, all that stuff. A trellis will do that for you. And if you're a bit iffy in terms of how to actually attach it in the Leca, because sometimes, stuff, when you're putting trellises in a Leca situation, the Leca is quite light. It's not like potting mix, so it doesn't really hold on to the trellis nicely. You can actually use cable ties or something to actually make sure, attach the trellis to the pot, or you can just put it in there, and depending on how heavy the plant is, it won't topple over. So this is the large acrylic grid, looking beautiful. The next one is the honeycomb trellis. Oh, I love a honeycomb trellis. I really, really do. And so same thing with the honeycomb trellis. It is clear. You need to peel that off. It looks beautiful. Now, honeycomb trellis, I have someone here. So this is you can see, oh my gosh, this plant is really needing some support. This is a Monstera albo, right? And that just, oh, come on, there we go. That goes in there nicely. And funny, this is actually a Leafy Brand pot as well. So I do use the Leafy Brand quite a lot. I love his products. They're all lovely and clear. This is the tall pot. So he has some tall ones as well, if you're interested in those. I don't particularly, and the thing with the tall pots is that they have that slit going all the way to the top, that perforation, and they do have more holes than the normal ones, and they don't have an outer cash pot. So I don't really like those ones so much, because I still have to find a cash pot, and it's hard to find a cash pot for a tall one. I got these for a specific purpose, which I'm done with, but yeah. So anyway, that works. And you can see, the thing that I love about Andy's products though is he has a clear clip, and he actually threw this in for free for me. Thank you, Andy. I didn't need to buy these because I already had some from the last time I bought them. So that's what's contained in this one. These are little clear clips that you use to attach your plant to your clear trellis, right? And look at how that looks. It looks absolutely beautiful. So now my Monstera is actually quite happy and supported. It looks good, and I don't have a moss pole winning. But I've always been a moss pole girl from a very, very long time. Moss poles, I loved moss poles. The first time I saw moss poles, I absolutely fell in love with them. But I've been there, done that. I think I've taken moss poles as far as I can take them. And so, I'm trying to move away more from moss poles and trying to use alternatives. And for the longest time, I wasn't quite sure whether trellises were actually going to do what a moss pole does. And that's why I've been on the fence with trellises for a long time. But also because a lot of trellises are made out of metal. And of course, I grow in semi-hydro. So I don't know, is this metal going to react with my reservoir? I don't know. And now that we're getting a lot more of these acrylic trellises, it's so much easier. That's not a problem anymore. The trellises aren't made of bamboo that's going to rot in my reservoir. So, that misgiving is gone. Although I do still have one misgiving. It's the fact that I can't extend a trellis, whereas, with the moss pole, you just put it on top and your plant keeps growing and you get that height. For me to use a trellis for a plant like this Monstera, so when this grows too long for this, I can get a bigger one. I know I've seen some, and I do have one, which is really, really tall, but you can only go so far. You can only go so high. And at that point, you then have to air layer your plant so that you can then continue with the tip cutting, so that you've got that vertical growth growing instead of you just chopping your plant up. That's the thing I don't like about trellises. And I know there's some trellises that you actually can extend. I think tree leaf trellises are extendable. I don't know. But again, they're made of wood. A bit iffy in semi-hydro, but I think some of them do have plastic bases. I don't know, but none that I've seen in Australia. And I have contacted a few companies to see if they can, send those along, or if I can buy them. And so, but they don't ship to Australia. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So I'm stuck with this, and it's not possible to extend it. So I would really love for someone out there who's working with 3D printers and doing all sorts of things to really look into, can you make a trellis that is stable and that is extendable? I have a few ideas. So if anybody wants to do that, hit me up. I've got some ideas. So if you're interested in getting any of these products, please check out the link in the description and that'll take you through to the Leafy Brand website. So for those of you who can't get Leafy Brand products, those of you overseas, what can you use? The concept is the same. As long as something is acrylic, as long as something is, I mean, it doesn't even have to be acrylic, as long as it's waterproof. That's the thing. It's waterproof and it's water resistant. So it's not going to react to the nutrient solution or to the water in your reservoir. It's fine to use. And I know for a fact that there are lots and lots of things that look like this out there. There are lots of people working away with their 3D printers, making stuff that looks like this. So find something like this. I'm sure you can, and that will work just as well. Before I get into the pond, I want to show you this. This is a collaboration between the Leafy Brand and Lee. I was gifted this. This he gifted to me. He thought I would love it and threw it in there. And oh my goodness, look at that cutie. That is a fridge magnet. That is a begonia fridge magnet. Look, you've got the little magnets at the back and you've got the little begonia leaf over there. And look at what it does. How cool is that? And Andy tells me they've got lots of different plants on his website that look like this. So this is a collaboration between Leafy Brand and Lee, and that is just absolutely the cutest little thing. I love it. Fridge magnet. This Leafy Pon-002 mineral stone mix. It's very scientific, a very scientific name. This is the Pon version, the Leafy Brand Pon version. And I've been wanting to try this for a really long time. This product is made of 4 things. You've got green zeolite, red volcanic rock, diatomite, and what's the other thing? Pumice. I almost forgot. And all these 4 substances bring something to the equation. It is completely mineral based. There's no organic matter in this at all. And this is, I think this is the 3-liter. Yes, this is the 3-liter version. It comes in bigger versions as well. So I only needed the 3-liter, and it is really nice. It looks really nice. It's very, very stony, as you would expect. And of course, it's very, very dusty. So I've got lots of residue on my hand there. And one of the things that the Leafy Brand recommend is when you get it, before you use it, give it a nice rinse to get rid of all that dust. And don't worry, the things that are making it what it is will not wash off, because it's about 3 millimeters to 6 millimeters in diameter for all the substances in here. So what you're washing off when you're rinsing it is really just the dust particles from when the rocks are rubbing against each other and the manufacturing and so on. It is absolutely gorgeous. Let's talk a little bit about what's in this. So the green zeolite. The green zeolite in this. So I've got the green zeolite in here. Oh, so hard to show. So that is the green zeolite. The green zeolite is the main workhorse in this substance. The zeolite has a high CEC. It's got a high cation exchange capacity. So it holds on to that nutrient solution. So when you put your nutrient solution in there, the nutrient particles hold on to the zeolite. And so it almost acts something like a slow release thing. That's what it is, which is unlike Leca. Leca has got a very low CEC, so you need to keep putting that nutrient solution in. You can't just say, right, I put it in last week, so it must be floating about in the Leca somewhere. It's not. If it's not in the reservoir, then it's absolutely gone. Whereas with this, that green zeolite is going to hold on to that, so it allows for more stable distribution, more long-term distribution of the nutrients to your plant. And of course, the other thing that the zeolite does is it wicks the moisture and it buffers the pH. So you've got a more stable environment in your semi-hydro situation. And of course, the pumice is good for drainage and it's good for aeration as well. So having all these things together makes this mix really, really good. The diatomite is also good for capillary action, and it is great because it has a silica in there as well. The red volcanic rock, their red volcanic rock is really great because it allows those roots to just latch on and just create that attachment onto the substrate. It also is fantastic for drainage and aeration. So all in all those good things in that mix means that this mix is really great for you to use in semi-hydro. I'm really looking forward to using it and see how it compares to my other substrate, which I use all the time. I use the substrate from Habit Plants. I also use Pon as well, but it's, you know, I like to sort of spread my love and just compare different things for different plants and see how that works out. So why would you want to use this and not just stick to potting mix? Well, the good thing about this is that because there's no organic matter, things like fungus gnats, you know, soil-based pests have nowhere to live and to hibernate. So fungus gnats become a thing of the past for you. It's really great for aeration, and it's, you know, it doesn't smell as much as potting mix might do because green zeolite actually absorbs odors. So if you're really sensitive to the smells of potting mix, this would be a great idea. So obviously, if you're overseas, you can't get this particular mix. So there's lots of other mixes out there, and there's lots of different ways. You can even mix the things yourself. Lots of people make their own DIY pon. But if you don't want to mix your own DIY pon, because then you have to source heaps amount of pumice, you have to source heaps amount of green zeolite from all sorts of different places. I know there are places out there that actually make their own blends, so you can get the equivalent of things, and all you're looking for is a substance that has a different mix of the various things and does, you know, at the very minimum, lots of drainage, lots of aeration, and probably pH buffering as well, because with a mix like this, that is what you're looking for. So, you know, step out, look around and see what other places out there manufacture that looks similar to this. You don't have to be stuck with looking for pon all the time, especially in America. I know sometimes pon is a bit hard to find, so there are other alternatives out there. So, was all of this worth it? I think it was. For $200, I've got myself 6 pots, a heap load of pon, lots of trellises, and these are things that are going to last me for a really, really long time. So in terms of an investment in quality and what these look like, I'm really happy with that, how that's gone. Obviously, I've never used this particular pon before, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. Not too sure how that's going to translate with my plants. So this is a pure experiment on my part, but all in all, I'm really happy with my purchases. Watch this next video and see some of my earlier purchases from the Leafy brand.